Hey, it's Jason with the Marketing Podcast Network. You have less than 1 month left to get special early bird pricing for the Creator Economy Expo 2023. This event, folks, is for content creators and entrepreneurs interested in building and growing their content-first businesses. Do not miss this show. Join over 500 bloggers, podcasters, authors, newsletter writers, speakers, consultants, and freelancers at the learning and networking event for content creators. Plan to attend May 1st through the 3rd in Cleveland, Ohio. Register now to secure early bird pricing before it disappears March 31st. Early bird pricing ends March 31st. As a special offer, you can get $100 off just for listening to MPN shows like this one. Go to cex.events to register. Use the coupon code MPN100. The address, the URL, cex.events. That's the whole thing. Type that into your browser. cex.events. The code you use, MPN100. The Creator Economy Expo, Cleveland, May 1st through the 3rd. See you there.
As a business-to-business marketer, your needs are unique. B2B buying cycles are long, and your customers face incredibly complex decisions. Isn't it time you had a marketing platform built specifically for you? LinkedIn ads empower marketers with solutions for you and your customers. LinkedIn ads allow you to build the right relationships, drive results, and reach your customers in a respectful environment. On LinkedIn, you'll have direct access to and build relationships with decision makers. Of the 875 million users on the network, 180 million are senior-level executives, 10 million are C-level executives. You will also be able to drive results with targeting and measurement tools built specifically for B2B. And they work. Audiences exposed to brand messages on LinkedIn are 6 times more likely to convert. LinkedIn ads also ranked number 1 for security, community, and ad experience as part of Business Insider's Digital Trust Study. Here at Sway Group, LinkedIn is a pivotal part of our day-to-day and is just absolutely vital for building relationships with clients and with our employees. Make B2B marketing everything it can be and get a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome to The Art of Sway. This is a podcast that brings you inside the world of marketing through the lens of influence. I'm your host, Danielle Wiley. Each week, through candid conversations with industry insiders, we will uncover how influencer marketing is making an impact across all consumer buying habits and is changing the way we talk to each other. Let's dive in. Brian and I have known each other for years, so it was fun getting a chance to catch up with him on the podcast. It was particularly great to have a back and forth with him about the oftentimes heated subjects of influencer rates and exclusivity. On a lighter note, I also loved learning that we are both Scorpios with a special fondness for Hess trucks. Brian Camen is the Senior Director of Media, Content, and Public Relations at Ferrara, overseeing paid, owned, and earned media for more than 25 candy brands, including Trolli, Sweet Tarts, and Nerds. Prior to joining Ferrara, Brian worked on the agency side for 10 years, creating award-winning campaigns for both large and small B2C and B2B brands across industries. He currently resides in the suburbs of Chicago. Okay, well, welcome, Brian. It's so great to have you on.
Danielle, it's so good to see you again.
Yeah. Last time I saw you in person was pre-pandemic at a very fancy, delicious steak dinner, I think, in Chicago, right?
Yeah, one of my favorite restaurants, one of my favorite steakhouses in Chicago.
Yeah.
Prime and Provisions.
I was going to say, we have to tell people what it is if we're going to tout it. Prime and Provisions. Yep. So you are on, well, regardless, it's great to talk to you, but this came about specifically because you got our email about the podcast and you emailed me just with a wish list topic that you wish we would discuss. And I was like, yes, that's a great topic. I will discuss it with you.
And now here I am.
And now here you are.
Yeah. No, I've been big fan of the Sway Group for a long time now.
Well, thank you. So I want to get into this great topic that you came up with. But before that, why don't we give people just a little bit of background on your journey to the role you have now, what that role is. You don't have to start with I was born on a summer day, but just your career journey.
I was born on October 24th. No, in all seriousness.
I'm October 28th.
What?
Happy birthday. Yeah, mine's tomorrow.
That is amazing. We're both Scorpios. Is it a good thing or a bad thing that two Scorpios are talking? I don't know.
I get along very well with Scorpios and Leos.
Okay.
I
Okay.
find.
All right. So I hope you have some exciting birthday plans coming up. To start, I started my career back in higher education public relations. 2007, I was the only millennial in the workforce. I worked at a graduate school, a business school. I didn't go to B school, but I worked there doing PR. And as the only millennial, that's around the time that social media for business became a thing, and assume the responsibilities at the business school of doing social. And at the time, a team of one, learning from myself, knew I needed to get some more experience, and I was relocating to Chicago and spent 10 years after that in the agency space. So working at Ogilvy and Mather, and then working at Golan, always in the digital social influencer space. And fast forward back to December 2018, started at Ferrara Candy Company. You might have heard of some of our brands: Trolli, Sweet Tarts, Nerds, Brock's, Lemonhead, list goes on and on. There's about 25 plus brands, and really started my journey with Ferrara focused on all things social and influencers. What really excited me about the role was the fact that we had all these iconic candy brands that just make everyone smile, that had a very limited online presence. So I spent a lot of time with general housekeeping, getting it in order, establishing processes and practices. And my remit has since expanded, and now I oversee content, media, and public relations. And within that falls influencers, as you know. Have a team of 8 or so rock stars that I love coming to work every day, virtually and in person, driving our brands forward.
I have to ask if I've ever told you my crazy Ferrara story.
If you have, I don't remember. What is it? Hopefully it's a crazy good one. Everybody always...
It's a good one. It's a crazy good one.
Everybody always has a story.
Yeah. So we were still living in Chicago, and our kids were pretty little. And we had tickets to a Blackhawks game.
Okay.
And we went, and we showed up early because I think it was a bobblehead night. And of course, we wanted 4 bobbleheads, which I probably still have laying around. And so we got there early. And I have to think we were probably just the cleanest looking family at the game, or not drunk, or I don't know, but someone came up to us and said, "Congratulations, you're family of the game." This is before the game even started.
Family of the game.
Family of the game. We're going to come grab you between second and third period, take you to these other seats, put you on the Jumbotron, and announce you as family of the game. And my husband's like, "What is this scam? Are they gonna scam us into season tickets? What's happening here?" And so they come. I was like, "Why are you so cynical? Enjoy it." So they come and grab us. We go on the Jumbotron, and then they announce that we've won a suitcase of candy every month for a year.
Wow.
And that sounds, it sounds great. And it was fun. And I was like, that's terrific. And then I kind of forgot about it. And suitcase, probably a little box in the shape of a suitcase. Mm-hmm. The next month is enormous. It's 2 feet, 2.5 feet wide by maybe 1.5 feet deep. And it has 2 layers. There's probably
25 to 30 pounds of candy in there.
25 to 30 pounds of candy every month for a year.
That is amazing.
And I had 2 little kids, so I was like, you will all die of diabetes if you eat all of this. We need to share the goodness out there. So when we were still in Chicago, my kids would set up candy sales on the corner and donate all the money to charities. So we did the Jimmy V Fund for cancer research, the Humane Society. And then we moved to California in the middle of it. We, of course, more important than changing our address with anyone else was changing our address with Ferrara, so the candy would still arrive. And we sold it as a fundraiser at my son's school on movie night, and we just spread the Ferrara love to everyone. If you met us that year, we gave you candy.
Thank you for sharing delight. I am happy to report that the candy suitcase is still around, and every new employee gets a candy suitcase when they start at Ferrara. And it brings pure joy to everyone's face. There's probably countless photos on LinkedIn of employees with their candy suitcases. It's an amazing treat.
Yeah, one of our best family memories, and it was a long time ago.
That's really cool.
Thank you, Ferrara. I could talk about candy the whole time, but we want to talk about the evolution of influencer marketing, first of all, because you brought up some interesting points about how it's evolved. And I've been actually having a lot of conversations about this week. And then also kind of get into the standardization or lack thereof of influencer rates, which I think is really the meat of what you wanted to get into.
Yeah.
But one of the things in terms of the evolution of influencer marketing, having both been in it really since the beginning, I don't know if you've noticed this as much as I do because I'm a mom and you're not, but I feel like a lot of people these days, especially younger people in the space, kind of forget that the whole influencer industry was created by moms, and they were the first ones who really started to make money off of this.
I mean, you know this topic better than anyone. You're an OG. You've got tons of experience here. And I go back to 2010. You probably go back to 2005. But in terms of, in 2010, I was working at Ogilvy and Mather. I'll never forget, we were working on VTech Electronics, the toy division, so VTech Kids. And we had a VTech mom. She was the community manager of the Facebook page. Her kids grew up, so then we had a VTech infant mom. We had a private group on Facebook to help her manage. And then there was all of these mom bloggers that you needed to get in front of their holiday gift guides. You needed to do it. No option. That was how you were raising awareness of your brand during the holiday time. Go to Toy Fair, meet with countless mom bloggers, and it was moms who started it all. It really was. And then it branched out, or it evolved. The industry evolved from blogs to social platforms. Celebrities then started getting paydays by having gifting events in LA, and you wanted to sponsor it. And ooh, look at me now. Celebs evolved to then just general influencers. Platforms evolved. Content creators became a thing, and it all happened pretty quickly. Within 10 years, which it is quick, but I'll never forget, no matter what era we were in of influencers, the rates continue to increase. You were paying astronomical prices to people because they could demand it, and they got what they asked for. And I'll never forget, in my agency days, I was working on a big box retailer. Obviously, but we're not going to say the name, but we were working with these twin girls, young girls, who we paid six figures to. And it is for a video, short to mid form video. And it's crazy because there's a lot of people who made and are making a lot of money in this industry. Here we are in the creator economy, and content creators have full control over their rates, market rate, going rate. Influencers, they're driving it. And, I always think to myself, okay, so should marketers and agency folk band together? We're going to set the rates. And if platforms can figure out how much they can pay influencers, why can't marketers? Then I go to the flip side and tell myself, well, it's likely because there's no way anyone is ever going to agree to a standardization, and somebody's always going to trump it. Somebody's always going to lowball. And the $5 billion, according to eMarketer, that's spent on influencer marketing in 22. I don't know, you probably have more accurate numbers than I do. It's like, there's no way to control that. That's just so much.
It's so much. I mean, it's standardized a little bit for us internally, just because there'd be no way to do our pricing otherwise in terms of the pricing that we're presenting to clients. So, I mean, we have a pretty complex pricing worksheet, and it has a section for every platform. And within each platform, it has sections for the different tiers. And
Yeah.
we go really deep on that. So like even within the tier of micro influencers on Instagram, we have 3 levels of micro influencers, because someone with 11,000 followers is not going to demand as much as someone with 75,000
One
followers.
would think. One would think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, within that, we have plus ups, because sometimes it's complicated. Like if we're asking someone to create an original recipe, which takes a lot of work, or if it's a fashion influencer who needs to also pay to hire a stylist and a photographer and a makeup artist. And like there are certainly factors, but I think I feel like what you're kind of getting at is more, so we go out there. I mean, we have the benefit of recruiting for lots of campaigns. So it's not,
Mhm.
we have a little bit more control over the situation, and we have a large network, but we'll go out there and we'll say, this is what we're paying for these programs. And to your point, there are always people who come back and demand more. And sometimes we have the luxury of saying, we're not paying that this time. Good luck to you on your
Yep.
journey. But sometimes we need a man on Instagram because the client wants to make sure that there's an even split from a gender perspective. And there are just not that many men on Instagram doing sponsored content that's appropriate for most of our brands. And simple supply and demand issue, they can ask for more, which gets into this whole other gross conversation of, okay, so if the guys are asking more and then we have a campaign where this guy who's not any better than the woman asked for more, then do we have to pay everyone more to keep it equitable? Like there's a
Right.
lot that goes into. So yes, I mean, we have those standard rates. Has there ever been a campaign where every single person on the campaign took exactly what we hoped they would take? No, it becomes like a total bucket of money, and we try to divvy it up as best we can.
And I hear you. There's a lot of different criteria: reach, engagement, type of content, whitelisting, exclusivity, all these different factors that go into a rate. And working with a group like the Sway Group can definitely help. But in the long run, overall, we don't have that benefit. And we try to estimate, okay, it's $100 per 1,000 followers. But then all of a sudden now TikTokers are on the rise, and they're either significantly undervaluing themselves or significantly overvaluing themselves. Oh, and wait, there's more. They don't actually know how to work with a marketing department. So there's an abundance of outliers, and I agree with you that we have general parameters and factors, but for some reason over the years it's never that simple. It's never that easy.
No. I would love to dive a little bit deeper with you into the exclusivity question, because
Okay.
we have the perspective that, and this is very easy for us to have this perspective because we're not a brand. Our perspective is that brands need to step away as much as possible from extreme exclusivity demands.
Do you see how that has evolved so much in the past 10 years? We want 60 days before, 90 days after, and now you're lucky if you get 10 days, 7 days, 3 days.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you that brands shouldn't marry themselves to the exclusivity clause and have to have some flexibility. But I can tell you, I'm always going to ask for it.
Okay, so I want to ask you this question honestly. Do you think any like actual real human in the world only buys one brand of candy? Like, do you think someone's at the store and they're like, oh, well, I can't buy a Snickers. It's not Ferrara. That's my brand. Like, it's not like Apple.
I mean, for the record, we are an
Or
impulse.
for you, you probably.
Yeah. What I don't want to happen is I don't want an influencer content creator to post about whether it's organic or paid right before or right after. If they're going to do 7 Instagram stories on a day, and then one of them is about brand X, and then all of a sudden it's about our brand and it's a competitor, and then it's about another brand, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's not worth the dollar paying for
Right.
it. So what I'm saying is I'm still going to ask for it, but I have realistic expectations that we are not where we used to be years ago in terms of exclusivity.
Yeah, we've been trying to play around with different ways of tackling it, especially on TikTok because there is such a high volume there. So sometimes we'll even, instead of a certain number of days, we'll say, okay, a 6 video buffer.
Yeah, that's a nice idea.
Yeah, just to kind of, I talk about this a lot. I'm like addicted to American Pickers and Pawn Stars. And I feel like I've learned all my negotiation tactics from Mike Wolf. But like as many things like that you can pull out of your hat to try to just game the negotiation. Like, okay,
Yeah.
you won't take 15 days, but would you take 15 videos? Like just kind of changing up the wording can sometimes yield something that works for everyone.
I hear you. And if it's the Pawn Star guys in Vegas, I've been there and I sold them something once.
You
It
did?
was it was a neon sign. It was very exciting. I only got $100, but
Still. Yeah, I walked past there once and I have a couple of things that I would love to bring. But we saw last night they're going on the road. They're doing like an antiques road show.
oh wow.
Yeah.
I know we're digressing, but I once saw a Vegas show about the Pawn Stars. It wasn't that good.
I watched a lot of episodes yesterday. We were like all too tired to watch anything like deep. And it was just like sometimes you just want to like lean back on your couch with a cocktail and Chumlee. Yeah.
That's awesome. I know in terms of standardization, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Association of National Advertisers.
I am. Yep.
Okay. They recently came out with measurement guidelines, and their influencer committee is looking into the standardization, but it's just such a tall order, and I believe in it. I just don't see it happening in our lifetime of marketing. I do agree with you that there's a discrepancy between gender, race, and we need equality here.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, maybe it'll have to be ranges. I can tell you that we knew for a long time we needed a pricing worksheet to try to make sense of all this because it's so incredibly complex.
Mm-hmm.
And I can also tell you that it's like the world's scariest spreadsheet because there are so many factors that go into this pricing. And we were really happy to see the ANA's measurement guidelines because it just helps us, right? Like we know how much great data we can have. And when you have clients who are not educated in what's right and what's valid and what's not, I mean, it hurts us if they go to a competitor who's giving them shoddy data and there's nothing to check that against. Yeah, if they could do something similar with rates, I think it would have to be ranges. I think it would have to be like vague guidelines.
It's tough. It's really tough, especially with the rise of TikTok and the fact that TikTok is likely going to overtake YouTube in influencer spending in a short time, whether it be a year or two from now. And the fact that there are a lot of younger creators that don't have experience or are being guided in the wrong direction and need help from someone like you or others. I love TikTok, great platform, but in terms of creators, definitely needs regulation.
Yeah, it's funny because we see it on both sides. Like on the one hand, we had a creator somehow finagle a meeting with one of our clients. Like his manager got in front of the CMO who like insisted that we all take this meeting. And this creator and his manager came to the meeting, asked for 7 figures with 0 concepts or ideas, just said, yeah, I'd love to do something. I love your brand. It'll be about 7. Like there was no presentation or pitch so that's like the extreme of what you're talking about. But then on the other hand, like I was reading about the Container Store brand ambassador program yesterday, and they're not getting paid. They're getting paid in a gift card and a content stipend, which stipend to me screams not much. And they're giving up all usage rights to the brand.
Ooh.
They're creating content every month. I mean, and they get affiliate, but like anyone could get affiliate. So yeah, on the one hand, you have crazy guy asking for 7 figures. And then on the other hand, you have people who are vastly undervaluing their worth.
Yeah.
And you have brands kind of stuck in the middle. Like on one hand, some of them are taking advantage of creators, I think. And on the other hand, some of them are getting snowed in by creators who are not worth anything close to what they're asking.
Right. I haven't read about the Container Store yet, but what it screams to me is they likely have a wealth of brand fans. and they have high value items. So they are smart to set up a program in that sense. Whether they're undervaluing, overvaluing, I don't know, but it sounds like the right move for them to make, given that they have high value items.
Yeah.
I'm sure they figured it out.
Yeah. I mean, they're getting the content. It's interesting. I kind of sit in the middle of this too, right? Because on the one hand, I'm negotiating, not me personally, my team's negotiating with influencers to try to get the best value possible for our brands. But on the other hand, one of the reasons I got into this business in the first place was to get women paid what they were worth, because I saw that mom bloggers were creating content that was, I still remember I worked on a program for a diaper brand, and we had mom bloggers and then Tori Spelling coming to an event in Times Square. And Tori Spelling got 6 figures and the mom bloggers got a plane ticket and like a few $100. And like, who's more influential? Like, who are you going to trust more? Who's more compelling? Who's creating better content? Who's more like, who do you truly believe is standing in the supermarket in the diaper aisle making that decision? Yeah, like I'm torn because I hear you. And obviously if you can get content without putting much money out there, like that's the smart business decision. But on the other hand, like I can't deny that I wouldn't secretly say to those people, like, you're worth more. Take the money and buy your own alpha shelving.
Yeah. That's funny. I think you and I have a lot more career overlap than we realize, and we don't have to go into it now, but I also worked on likely the same exact diaper brand back in early 2010.
Yeah, that's probably right when it was.
Yeah, did similar type programs. So
yeah, I think it was a race. I think it was a baby race in Times Square.
That's awesome.
Okay. So we always end our podcast. I know we're coming up on time, but we always end it by asking our guests what their not necessarily favorite commercial was when they were a kid, but what childhood TV commercial still sticks with you to this day.
Okay. It's a great question. It's a hard question, but it's also an easy question. Yeah. Question, where did you grow up?
On Long Island.
Okay. So do you remember the Hess truck commercials?
I have 16 years of Hess trucks in my utility room because my mom sends one to my son every year for Hanukkah. And he's 17 now. And I'm like, you can still send me Hess truck. Yes.
So to me, growing up in northern New Jersey, I don't know. I thought Hess was regional, but they might be national. I don't remember.
I think it's New York, New Jersey, because he's
okay.
Yeah, like that's why. Isn't that why the Jets are green? I think they're green because of Hess.
Well, yes. But I remember those commercials year after year. They were either the same commercial or slight tweaks on them, and they just always stuck with me throughout the holiday season. And you know, I can still sing the jingle today, which I'm not going to.
You sure?
But Hess truck, Hess commercials every holiday time, and then also regional, even though this is a national podcast, but the Nobody Beats the Whiz commercials also.
Yes. There was a whole huge article about him in New York Times, or I think because there's a documentary about him.
Oh, I haven't seen it. I'll have to check it out.
I'll find it for you. This was a couple of months ago now, but there was an article. I think it was because there was a documentary, but there was an article about the Whiz and Nobody Beats the Whiz. And it's interesting because my husband grew up in Ohio, but is a bit older than me and worked in the consumer electronics industry in New York before we met. And so like his perspective of to me, I was like a little kid and I'm like, Nobody Beats the Whiz. And like, that's the commercial that was always running. Yeah. And like, he knew it from like a career, like that crazy guy in the consumer electronics business.
Wow. See, small world. I think we have a lot more in common than we started out with.
For sure. I think that's a sign of a good podcast episode.
Heck yeah. Danielle, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please check back next Monday for a new episode featuring marketing conversations through the lens of influence. I am your host, Danielle Wiley, and this is The Art of Sway.
You may know you are listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Izzy House hosts a great podcast called the Space Marketing Podcast. Izzy, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Space Marketing Podcast is where we explore marketing principles, strategies, and tactics through the lens of space. I talk space with some very interesting industry professionals about their challenges and successes with marketing in the new commercial space economy. This show is for business leadership, entrepreneurs, and the space curious.
Wow. And where in the universe can people subscribe?
All of the major channels, and you can also find it on MPN and spacemarketingpodcast.com.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.